According to the latest data from the nation's Bureau of Statistics, consumer prices soared to a staggering 28.20% in November, reaching a level not seen since August 2005. Now, this marks a significant jump from the 27.33% recorded in October. The NBS report sheds light on the concerning food inflation, which amount or counts for over 50% of overall inflation. In November, the food inflation rate skyrocketed to 32.84% compared to 24.13% a year earlier. Analysts claim that a food inflation rate exceeding 30% indicates a substantial surge in food prices, exerting additional pressure on the already strained food supply within the Nigerian economy. Well, as Nigeria grapples with this economic challenge, the spotlight remains on the central bank's next move and its potential impact on inflation and the overall financial landscape. To further discuss this, I'm joined by the Chief Executive Officer of APT Securities, Kashim Garba Kurfi, is our guest. Good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. Mr. Kurfi, in your opinion, how is this recent surge in food inflation, which is above 30%, expected to impact the purchasing power of the average Nigerian?
Well, in the first instance, it is a surprise for us to record that. Remember, this is the harvesting period. And most of the time, during the harvesting period, you get the price of foodstuff go down. Why is it so high? Two things. One, the insecurity. A lot of the farmers cannot harvest their farm product because of the insecurity, especially in the northwest and north central. And these are the major producers of the food crops. So really that is one of the area. The other issue is the cost of diesel. If you remember, the diesel cost over 1,000, and that has an impact to the cost of transportation of these foodstuffs, especially in Nigeria, where most of our foodstuffs are transported via road, not through railway. And these two factors have really increased the cost of production, and this really affect the economy in general, because you must eat before you can do any other work. And this affect especially the medium class and the small class, that most of their money end up just to meet the end meet by buying only food.
Interesting. What specific sectors would you say, of Nigeria's economy would you say are likely to face the most significant challenges as food inflation reaches what we can describe as an unprecedented level?
Generally, it affects the low incomes earners, especially wages, because the review of the salary is not yet in place, and the palliative is not enough to mitigate the exchange rate or the rising of the cost of the food. And the children, because children, they need nutrition food. And when you are trying to live for a living, the nutrition food may not be the priority. All your priority is to get something to put to the table. So these are the two major sectors that are seriously affected by the cost of the food.
Do we also need to be concerned about, economic inequality as a result of the soaring inflation?
Well, that is very true. But the reality is that if we can have peace and if we can embrace irrigation, because Nigeria have a lot of land, but most of us will rely on the rainfall, which lasts between 4 to 5 or 6 months. So the substantial part of the north, about 8 months, are without any rain. So if we can just demarcate most of our river and convert them into irrigation, we'll produce 2 or more times of the food we are producing now. And in no time, Nigeria can be the net exporter rather than importer. So I think there is a serious policy by the government to ensure mechanism and hybrid crops are made available to the farmers, plus the fertilizer, and encourage irrigation. Because with irrigation, Nigeria can earn more than what it can earn in the crude oils.
You've talked about some of the policies the government, needs to put in place, looking at irrigation and all that, which has been talked about for years. But how can small businesses, local entrepreneurs cope with this economic strain or the economic strain caused by food inflation exceeding 30%?
Well, the small entrepreneurs, especially those who sell maize along the road, most of them, they are dying because they don't have enough to enable them to even buy what they put for a day. The price has doubled and their capital is very small, except with the tip up of these 50,000, which can only account very few. But if it can be separated there, it may encourage their working capital to be able to survive. Otherwise, I'm telling you, a lot of them cannot survive the expensive of the cost of the food, and therefore they end up eating their capital just for a living. Because when you go for the food that has doubled the price, so the working capital that you should have used to enable you, you end up eating it. And that is why the small entrepreneurs and most of the small scale, you will see that they are gradually dying because the costs have skyrocketed beyond their capital, and there is no means to get access to the credit. And most of the banks, they don't patronize those small entrepreneurs. So they are heavily affected, and we need to do something.
Mr. Kofi, you've talked about what the government needs to do in terms of getting food production up, to about 2 times what it is right now through irrigation. But what other measures can Nigeria's government implement to, mitigate the impact of rising food prices on vulnerable populations such as, low-income households?
You see, our population, the vulnerable population are in the rural areas. What do we need? Collaboration and cooperation between the state and local government. I'm from Katsina State, and I can tell you, I know between Bazare and Kurpi local government, just a distance of 24 kilometers, they had 4 bridges. Why should you construct a bridge? Instead of constructing a bridge, construct a dam. It's just little more that you will add to the cost of bridge. That will bring you a bridge, a dam. If you have dam, in 3 to 4 years, it can last you. Many people of that area, both the animal and the human being, will have something to do. And with irrigation, they will be busy and be able to produce 2 to 3 times of what they are producing now. So if the state government will collaborate to, instead of construction bridges, converting those bridges into dam, most of the road, you will see that has a lot of dam along the side. Go to Kano State. If you are coming from Nambata or you are coming from Gorzo, you will see that there is no bridge. Instead of building the bridge, they constructed dam. And this dam enable thousands of them earn a living, and the animal also have water to drink. And you will find that the status and the economic status of most of the areas that have this were much better.
Okay.
And this was done as far back as 1979.
Well, that's a long time ago. Kasim Garba Kofi, you've said a lot and given us some food for thought. We appreciate your time on the news tonight.
Thank you for having me.